Okay, boys and girls, today we're going to talk about sedimentary rocks. So a few things. How do they form? They form from sediment, and sediment, which is sand, pebbles, mud, leaves, shells, and bones. That's all different types of sediment. Sediment is small, solid pieces of material that come from rocks or living things. So most sedimentary rocks are formed from the following: weathering, which we're going to go over in a minute, erosion, deposition, compaction, and sedimentation. Okay, so let's move on. All right, so here's the processes. And when you look on the online book, it has, you can see this maybe in a little bit better detail. So weathering and erosion. So the first step is weathering. Weathering is the freezing and thawing of rock. Plant roots help break up rock. Acid, oops, I see I added an E there for acid. Acid can break up rock and other forces on rock. So it could be even like an earthquake or anything like that, something that breaks it apart. And then there's little fragments. So the rock breaks up from weathering. The fragments then are carried away. And they're carried away by erosion, which is like running water, wind, ice can carry it, and they carry the broken bits away. Deposition is when the sediments settle somewhere, they're deposited somewhere from the water or wind, and then they start to pile up. Compaction is when the sediment builds up over millions and millions of years. They start to compact together. They start to squeeze. It's kind of like a press. It squeezes it together. And finally, cementation. So it cements together. The minerals slowly dissolve in water, and they dissolve and they become crystallized, or they glue together. On Friday, I do have an experiment for you to try at home if you can. If you can't, it's no big deal. It's optional. But it goes through kind of like some of this process. It's pretty cool. You could try it at home, and you'll see. It's on Friday. So there's three different types of sedimentary rock. The three major types are clastic. The first type is clastic. So clastic are when rock fragments are squeezed together. They can be microscopic particles to large boulders, and they're grouped by size of particles. So you have different ones. You have shale, sandstone, conglomerate, and breccia. So what shale is, and there's a picture right here of all of them. So here's shale. Shale has tiny particles of clay. Fossils are sometimes in there. Not usually, but sometimes, and flat pieces. Sandstone is formed from sand, obviously, sandstone. It has holes in it, and it's able to absorb water. Conglomerate has big rock pieces in there, and they're rounded edges. And breccia, it has rock pieces also in there, and they're fairly large, but they are sharp. They have sharp rocks, sharp corners to them. Okay, then we have limestone, which is in oceans. It's made up of coral. There's supposed to be a comma there. Clams, oysters, shells, and then also bones that are made up of calcite. The bones have to be made up of calcite. Well, they pile up in the ocean, and through compaction and cementation, they finally change into limestone after millions of years. Finally, our next is chemical. Chemical is when minerals dissolve in a water solution, so then they crystallize, and then this also can be formed from evaporation. So the minerals dissolve, and the water evaporates, and then they start to crystallize together. And then what happens is they become a sedimentary rock. Limestone is another example. So limestone can also be a organic and also a chemical type of sedimentary rock. Limestone's in oceans. It's calcite that we said from bones that dissolve and forms crystals. Okay, so the uses. So how are they used? Mainly for tools and building materials. Chert was used for spearheads, as was flint. Flint comes to a point, so it's very sharp, so it's used for spears, and it's formed from silica. Sandstone and limestone are mainly used for building materials. Limestone is great for making cement and also for steel. All right, and then boys and girls, on Tuesday I have another Nearpod for you to do. I have a couple fun activities in there for you to try out too. All right, boys and girls, have a great day.